there's something beautiful about a fighter that has nothing to lose. Yeah. And Kris Moutinho embodied that to a T last night.
What's up, Barnhill family? Welcome back to the channel.
Yo.
So, Nick, did anybody have as big of a breakout night as Kris Moutinho last night? I mean, he obviously lost the fight. Mm-hmm. I wish he'd have gotten the opportunity to finish the fight. He's got an iron chin, and this kid was very exciting, very fun to watch. Has a lot of stuff to work on technically. I mean, he's still climbing the ranks, 9-4, moving his way up into the UFC. Kind of got fast-tracked due to some circumstances and some injuries. And now he got a chance to go against Sean O'Malley last night. Yep. But what did you think of that performance? And then what did you think of Sean, who should have gotten him out a little earlier, in my opinion?
That was the hardest earned UFC contract I think I've ever seen.
Yeah.
There's one thing we've always said about Sean O'Malley is it appears he has ice running through his veins. He does not fall into pressure. He doesn't, get drowned out by the bright lights in the biggest moments. You got to say the same thing for Kris Moutinho. He did not care. There's something beautiful about a fighter that has nothing to lose. Yeah. And Kris Moutinho embodied that to a T last night. He was walking forward. He was walking down the big, bad #1 draw in the bantamweight division, one of the hottest prospects in all of mixed martial arts. And he didn't care who he was. That could have been Joe Schmo, or it could have been Sugar Sean O'Malley on a Conor McGregor main card. He didn't care. He was in there to fight. He was in there to at least try to win. I understand, and he understands as well as I do, that after the first round, there was really next to no ways for him to win that fight other than catch O'Malley with a lucky knockout shot. But, man, that kid is so tough. Dustin Poirier always says, paid in full, earned the hard way, all that stuff. And Kris Moutinho can definitely borrow that slogan and that phrase from Dustin Poirier last night, because he absolutely earned every bit of what he got from the UFC, multiple fight contracts in the UFC after that, and the $75K that he got for fight of the night.
I think you're absolutely right. I mean, I was so impressed. Obviously, he was miles behind where Sean is from a technical striking standpoint, but the toughness was absolutely on display. And we talk about this all the time. There's so many people out there, certain circumstances haven't allowed them to really get their shot in the UFC yet. They're 8-3, 9-4 like Kris Moutinho was last night. You've never heard of them, but rest assured they are as tough as an old leather boot.
Yeah.
We have trained with some of them, and some of them could actually go into the UFC and surprise a lot of people.
Well, yeah, they run their careers when they're really young. They run them incorrectly, and they take any fight at any time. There'll be a B-side guy that takes a fight on 3 days' notice, and they
Two
drive
weight classes up.
Yeah, they drive 8 hours to drive into a place. They don't have a hotel. They got to sleep in their car for the night, and they're taking the fight, and then the judges give them a raw deal because they're in a different state or something like that, and their record reflects poorly, but really it doesn't show just how tough those guys are. Where if they would have had the catered career of some fighters, you'd be looking at like a 14-0 guy,
right?
And so you got to watch out for those types of guys. His record was quite deceiving, Kris Moutinho, that is. 9-4, but I think he only had like 3 finishes, and 2 of them were submissions. So I feel, and he had fought at 125 before. I feel the UFC wanted Sugar Sean to win last night, and they threw him a little bit of a bone. They thought this was going to be a nice, soft, easy bone for him to just smash, take into his yard and break it like an easy thing. Turns out this was like a steel rod that he had to go try to toy with for 14 and a half minutes. And, in my opinion, that fight should have gone all 15 minutes. I think that kid showed true grit, the heart of a warrior. And listen, he took damn near 300 shots from O'Malley, who hits like a Mack truck. I mean, he doesn't look like it, but he's a powerhouse at 135. He's real long, and it's not all about the muscles and being the guy that's jacked up and has big shoulders and traps and all that. It's how you send your punches, how you whip them, and that's where the real power and speed and strength comes from. And O'Malley's got that down to a T, but this kid was not going anywhere. And you know what? The last punch of the fight was thrown by Moutinho, which shows me that he was actually very much still on his feet, not out like a zombie just standing there, unable to fall down. He was firing back at O'Malley when Herb Dean stopped the fight. I won't bash Herb Dean, but instantly you heard Joe Rogan, John Anik, Daniel Cormier, who all three of them, their opinions should matter deeply. And as far as everybody else in the crowd saying that was a bad early stoppage, it was booze all around.
Yeah.
And he kind of got his Ivan Drago moment because everybody booed him even though they didn't know him. And then everybody cheered him and loves him. I hope he gained 100,000 Instagram followers last night. He earned them.
I think he certainly did.
Yeah.
And we could talk about, I mean, the beautiful precision striking by Sean. As you said, he's not the big muscular guy, but what makes him a dangerous striker is, his mechanic, his technique is very, very good. His timing and precision is also very good.
Yes.
I think we can talk on and on and on about how good of a striker Sean O'Malley is, but I think now that we're looking at Sean as not just being a prospect anymore, but being a contender, we have to criticize a couple of things that I noticed last night. One is his gas tank.
Yeah.
Sean O'Malley was visibly tired before the end of that first round. He looked at the clock in every round, laid on the mat once the fight was finished, and took multiple deep breaths.
Yeah.
The other is he was hit with some shots that he shouldn't have been hit with.
Yeah.
Kris Moutinho hit him with a jumping, looping front hook multiple times. Sean had both eyes blacked, which nobody anticipated that happening last night. That shot was very easy to see coming. Even a novice watching that could see how Kris Moutinho was timing that and doing that. He should not have been hit with that shot as many times as he was. Yeah. And so if we're talking about, Sean O'Malley not fighting guys that are also prospects or guys that are on their first fight in the UFC or what have you, but now we're talking about Corey Sandhagen, Aljamain Sterling, TJ Dillashaw, Peter Yan. Those are the people that are at the top, and Sean believes that he's elite, and I'm not saying that he's not, but I am saying that Sean O'Malley, with the performance last night, would not get past a lot of the people in the top 5, in my personal opinion.
Which is crazy because he looked really sharp. But he looked like he was outclassing a guy that he should have taken out in the first round. I get Kris Moutinho might be a tough guy, might be strong, but you land the right shots a few times, or let's just say your grappling and your jiu-jitsu submissions are really good. You get that guy out of there. If everybody's general idea is that this guy doesn't belong in the UFC, and you believe that you're one of the next guys that's going to be fighting for a title in the next 18, 24 months, then you need to take that guy out. There's no part of me that believes if that guy, Kris Moutinho, stepped in there with Peter Yan last night, that he would have made it 14 and a half minutes.
Not a chance.
It would have been closer to 30 seconds. And, Sean, he put on a clinic. There is 14 minutes of Sean O'Malley highlights that the world gets and that he gets one day when he's an old man and he's not dyeing his hair anymore, but he's got gray hair. He can show that fight to his kids and they're going to go, oh my God, look at it. Highlight after highlight after highlight. Maybe that's a record for bantamweight. Who knows, 300 something strikes or 280 strikes, and all of them were landing. He couldn't miss. It was like jumping out of a boat and he was trying to hit water. He was just going to hit every time.
I think he landed something like 84% of his strikes or something like that. Just an absolutely insane number.
For a fight to go 14 and a half minutes and land that many is ridiculous.
Insane.
So he's got the skills. He just needs to get the finishing down. And I think that he puts a little bit too much emphasis sometimes on being the entertainer, which, I can't fault him. He is very entertaining. He's a star, not in the making anymore, but he is a star. And if he can just dial in those things, he really can move on to compete with the highest level. But he's got to get that finishing going. And last night he should have got the finish much earlier than he did. Kris Moutinho earned his spot in the UFC. I would never say that kid doesn't deserve a spot in the UFC anymore. He definitely has some fights that will be entertaining and that will be equal for him in the UFC.
I think they should be at 25.
They should be at 25.
He looked very small compared to Sean.
I mean, he looked like he, could have cut another 10 pounds easily. And, maybe because of how tough he is and how tough Thomas Almeida is, and they both fought Sean and both lost to him, I wouldn't mind seeing him fight Thomas Almeida and then maybe moving his way down to 125 and seeing how he does down there. But that guy earned his spot the hard way. Sean O'Malley definitely earned some serious respect, or gave him some serious respect and mad props for putting on the show, saving that part of the card, which, in my opinion, a lot of people cared about. I knew a lot of people that don't give a rat's behind about fighting or the UFC or anything like that. They like Conor McGregor. They like Sean O'Malley. They heard about Israel. Some guy named Izzy that's really cool, comes out like Mortal Kombat and does breakdancing. There's a couple of people they like. Maybe they like Derek Lewis because they follow him on social media, but Sean O'Malley is one of those guys that's kind of starting to move into pop culture and pull fans that aren't just fight fans, but they're his Twitch streaming followers.
Yeah.
They're his YouTube followers. He's meshing with the right people, collaborating with these YouTube channels and maybe the Nelk Boys and those types of guys. So I think he's got some serious potential at being a mega star. But the performance could be just a little bit better.
Yeah, and I think that's the key to success in being a star, right? Is pulling people from other venues and areas that aren't typically your fight fan crowd, right. the gamers, whoever it may be. And Sean O'Malley certainly is able to do that. And so if he can continue to win, he's going to continue to build his star. And I think that he will be able to pull everything together in his game to compete with the elite. But I do think it's worth noting that those two things that I mentioned, the cardio and some of the shots that were pretty predictable that he got hit with last night, do need to be addressed before he starts cracking that top 5 and we start talking about Sean O'Malley as potentially a title contender.
Yeah, for sure. And one last thing, you talk about bringing an audience from other realms, and one thing you can tell if you're a fighter out there, if you can go up to a promoter and you say, hey, I'd love to fight under your banner, and they say, all right, can you bring it, sell tickets or bring eyeballs to our show? If you can say yes, and you not only say yes, but tell them you can bring people that wouldn't have been watching this if it weren't for me, then that's what they want. If you've got 100,000 followers on Instagram and all of them are already diehard UFC fight fans, you're not bringing 100,000 eyes to the UFC. But if you go build a huge following on whatever platform it might be, it could be music, it could be dancing, it could be video game, whatever, cooking, and you say these 100,000 people don't watch the UFC, but when you sign me, they're going to tune in. That's when you've got something special, and Sean O'Malley has that. So I'm really excited to see what he does next. He called out some people. I think a few of those were misses. He's not getting Peter Yan next. He's not getting Dominic Cruz next. He's not getting Cody Nolov because he's moving down. But he called out Rob Font. I don't think Rob Font's going to want to take that fight, but I think that was. It was still a decent call out, even though he's not going to hit any of those guys next.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing the Cheeto rematch either.
Yeah.
Cheeto Vera, that kind of needs to be done at some point.
Yeah.
I think that's there's some still story left to be told in that. So who knows what the UFC will do? But all in all, a good performance for Sean last night. And shout out to Kris Moutinho. He has earned my respect and my viewership on every fight that he's involved in here forward.
Inside or outside the UFC octagon.
Yeah.
Paid in full.
If he's fighting on Fight Pass at the local venue, I'll be there. If it's close by, I'll watch it on Fight Pass. If not.
Those two guys definitely did a great job jerking the curtain for the McGregor card.
That's for sure. Guys, thanks so much for watching this video. Let us know in the comments, what did you think of Sugar Sean's performance last night? And just how tough is Kris Moutinho? Guys, who do you want to see both of these two fight next in the UFC? Let us know. And as always, if you've enjoyed this video, a like, comment, and subscribe is much appreciated. Have a wonderful day, and we will see you in the next one.
Peace.